Several times later, the floating island had already turned into dust. The dark space was filled with Hanju's vast and scorching dermic powers. The sages were dumbfounded. Even heavenly venerate Xian Du widened his eyes. The dark sage king was dead? Impossible! Furthermore, he was forcefully killed and had no ability to resist. Hanju used the simulation trial to check his surroundings. After confirming that the Dark Sage King was not around, he checked his interpersonal relationships and couldn't find the Dark Sage King's portrait. He heaved a sigh of relief. He turned to look at the sages and said, "It's time to save the heavenly Tao life forms." The sages came back to their senses and used their mystical powers to capture the location of the Dark Falling Prison. When the Dark Sage King perished, the projection in the Dark Falling Prison vanished. The prisoners were stunned. They didn't see clearly and didn't know what had happened. Han Tuo and Yi Tian looked at each other in confusion. Mortals couldn't even see the battle of the sages clearly. At this moment, black pillars of light descended from the sky and landed on every prisoner in the Dark Falling Prison. Han Tuo was wrapped by the black pillar of light and could not move. The dark power in his body began to boil, seeping into his bloodline and soaking into his soul. What's happening? Han Tuo was shocked and extremely terrified. Facing this power, he felt that his body no longer belonged to him. Yi Tian was also terrified. They could clearly sense that they were transforming. They didn't know if it was good or bad. Boom! The dark falling prison began to shatter. The bottom shattered and all the prisoners fell into the endless darkness. On the other side, South Extreme Heavenly Venerate suddenly grabbed the evil Heavenly Emperor and smiled disdainfully. "I didn't expect you to actually seek refuge with the Dark Sage King. You're courting death." The evil Heavenly Emperor was extremely angry. He glared at South Extreme Heavenly Venerate and did not explain. "Let him live." A voice floated over, causing the evil Heavenly Emperor to widen his eyes. This voice was Hanju's. He turned around and saw the mysterious sage shining with divine light staring at them. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate frowned and was about to speak when Hanju said, "Give me face." Hearing this, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate's expression changed, and he instantly smiled. "All right, since fellow Taoist Han has spoken, how can I not give you face?" He released his hand and turned to leave, joining the other sages in finding the dark falling prison. The evil Heavenly Emperor looked at Hanju from afar in silence. Hanju said, "I can protect you. Are you willing to join me?" With that, the evil Heavenly Emperor turned around and left. Hanju showed a frown. The evil Heavenly Emperor's words made him instinctively develop killing intent. He still had to rely on the Heavenly Tao to block powerful enemies, so he naturally did not want the evil Heavenly Emperor to be enemies with the Heavenly Tao. However, he suppressed this killing intent. He couldn't attack the Heavenly Emperor. He turned around. The two of them were like father and son in the past. Not long ago, the Heavenly Emperor also protected Hanju so forcefully and followed all his requests. Hanju didn't mistreat the Heavenly Emperor. If not for his interference in fate many times, the Heavenly Emperor would have died in the calamity. When Hanju turned around, he understood something. So what if he was a sage? This was fate. Hanju could capture the evil Heavenly Emperor into the primordial heavenly prison, but what was the point? Hanju sighed in his heart and stopped thinking about it. He immediately sent a dream to immortal Emperor Samsara and asked him to use the invocation technique so that he could escape at any time. The dream ended quickly after Hanju said this. Immortal Emperor Samsara didn't even have time to ask. For the next period of time, Immortal Emperor Samsara followed Hanju's instructions and kept using the invocation technique. A black vortex appeared behind Hanju and followed behind him. The sages were surprised when they saw it. They didn't dare to ask or even check with their sage sense, afraid of offending him. The scene of Hanju forcefully killing the Dark Sage King was still vivid in their minds. The remaining power was still there, and they were also very afraid. Since Hanju could kill the Dark Sage King, killing them was naturally nothing difficult. They weren't as powerful as the Dark Sage King. In the darkness, Hantuo's consciousness slowly woke up. He felt that he was constantly falling, as if he was falling into an abyss. What's going on? Am I going to die? Hantuo thought numbly. I can save you as long as you're willing to let me occupy your body. The mysterious white-robed man's voice sounded again. This is the only way. Hearing the other party's urging, Hantuo still did not answer. He was reviewing his life. He had experienced excitement, regret, pain, and satisfaction. Perhaps he should end it this way. His only regret was that he had yet to revive his parents and wife. After 100,000 years, it was already wishful thinking for Hantuo to find their souls. Perhaps death is the true release, Hantuo thought bitterly. At this moment, a beam of light pierced through the darkness and shone on him. The light entered Hantuo's eyes and awakened the hope in his heart. He saw a hand reaching for him. That is... Hantuo's pupils slowly widened in disbelief. A figure appeared behind that hand, a figure that was already blurry in his memories. Father! The blurred face in the depths of his memories became clear. Hantuo was extremely excited. He wanted to speak, but he could not. Hanju put him into his sleeve expressionlessly. The dark falling prison collapsed, causing a strong spatial fluctuation. The sages had sensed the spatial fluctuation and found the dark falling prison. After saving the heavenly Tao life forms, the sages gathered. Hanju quietly stepped into the dark vortex of the invocation technique and disappeared. Where's fellow Taoist Han? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked in surprise. Choshilai said, fellow Taoist Han has already left. Let's also leave so that the existence behind the Dark Sage King won't find trouble with us. All right. The sages immediately fled. Before Hanju left, he sent a voice transmission to Choshilai and Heavenly Venerate Wufa, telling them to escape quickly. The sages quickly traveled through space. They were no less nervous than Hanju and were also worried that they would be killed by the mysterious mighty figure. As he traveled, Fuxishan sighed. I didn't expect fellow Taoist Han to be so powerful. He's probably already achieved the Freedom Realm. They watched as Hanju became stronger step by step, surpassing them and leaving them behind. This shock was indescribable. Heavenly Venerate Shendu said, it must be the Freedom Sage Realm. It seems that fellow Taoist Han has a powerful background that we can't see through. He didn't believe that Hanju cultivated to this stage by himself. This fellow was definitely a mighty figure. He had worked with Hanju and didn't want the other sages to be afraid and hostile towards him. Since ancient times, there had been several times when a sage had been too strong and was surrounded by other sages. Of course, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu felt that these sages weren't Hanju's match. He was just afraid that they would die. That's right. As long as we kill the Dark Sage King, anything is fine. Why do I feel that we're not needed anymore? Hanju appeared in front of Immortal Emperor Samsara and asked him to immediately end the invocation technique and cut off the black vortex. Immortal Emperor Samsara did as he was told, then asked curiously, what happened? Why are you in such a hurry? Hanju said, we were fighting just now. With who? An existence that surpasses the heavenly Tao sages. Immortal Emperor Samsara was stunned. He suddenly recalled the last time he used the invocation technique, that terrifying aura. What kind of existence was Hanju? After Hanju asked immortal Emperor Samsara to cancel the invocation technique, he came to the second Tao field. The chaos deity's hatred towards you has increased. Current hatred points, stars. Great! Time to use the Book of Misfortune. Hanju cursed silently. The great Tao divine spirit guarding the chaotic order was actually the Dark Sage King's backing. He didn't think too much about it. In any case, the chaotic deity was only a great Tao divine spirit and couldn't enter his Tao field. Inside the Taoist temple, Hanju let Han Tua out. Han Tua lay on the ground unconscious. Hanju waved his hand and pulled out a soul. It was the white-robed man Han Tua had encountered in the deity realm of the ruins of End. This was only a soul fragment. The white-robed man had a solemn expression as he asked, "Who are you? You can actually kill the Dark Sage King. Do you know who's behind him?" Hanju directly killed him. Since it was not his main body, something would happen if he kept it here. Kundi's hatred towards you has increased. Current hatred points, full stars. Laozi has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, new star. Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, pure stars. Seven Tao Sage has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, pure stars. Jade Bodhi has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 3 stars. Niwa has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, pure stars. Karma Heaven has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. Hatred notifications began to appear in front of Hanju. He was stunned. A total of 26 mighty figures had developed hatred towards him, many of which were names that had appeared in Chinese mythology. What happened? Hanju was shocked. He checked the portraits of these mighty figures and heaved a sigh of relief when he discovered that there was no Tao creator. To be safe, Hanju still used the derivation function. Can the mighty figures who developed hatred towards me just now break through the array formation of my Tao field? 200 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. No! After calming down, he figured it out. Could it be that these mighty figures were behind the Dark Sage King? Then, why did these mighty figures still help them, the sages, restrain the existence behind the Dark Sage King? Self-directed drama? Hanju was terrified. Could it be that the mighty figures wanted to use the Dark Sage King to shatter the heavenly Tao? Why was this happening? Hanju couldn't figure it out. Dijuan sent you a dream. Do you accept? When Hanju saw this notification, he didn't agree immediately but asked, "Will I be in danger if I accept his dream?" 150 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. No! Relieved, Hanju accepted Dijuan's dream. In the dream, the two of them stood above the clouds. Dijuan stared at him and asked in a low voice, "When did you attain the Freedom Realm?" To prevent the mighty figures from thinking of the great Tao of extreme origin, Hanju couldn't help but say, "To be honest, I was originally at the Freedom Realm. Hanju is only part of my training in the immortal world in this life." Dijuan frowned. If what Hanju said was true and they didn't see through him before, didn't that mean that Hanju's main body might be stronger than them? Hanju pretended to be calm. Dijuan was still his good friend, and there was no hatred for the time being, so Hanju wanted to hear what he had to say. "You killed the Dark Sage King. This is not good," Dijuan said faintly. Hanju said, "I killed him for the heavenly Tao. The other sages begged me to help. I believe the mighty figures of the deity realm of the ruins of End will protect us." Dijuan said, "Indeed. Are you really only protecting the heavenly Tao? What else? Dijuan stared at him. Hanju also had a guess, but he didn't say it, as if he didn't know that 26 mighty figures were hostile towards him. If the heavenly Tao is in danger in the future, don't do anything. We have arrangements in place. With that, Dijuan ended the dream. In reality, Hanju opened his eyes and asked in his mind, is Dijuan also one of the Dark Sage King's backing? 150 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. Hanju's heart sank. Is the reason these mighty figures self-directed this drama to destroy the heavenly Tao to overthrow the Tao ancestors' lineage? Hanju could only think of this reason. 200 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. Being targeted by so many mighty figures was not a good thing. Hanju's only advantage was the Tao field. He couldn't go out easily in the future. Those mighty figures didn't know that he had already guessed the truth and might not directly fall out with him. At most, they would be wary of his identity. Dijuan was the best example. Hanju was confused. What was going on? Empress Niwa sent you a dream. Do you accept it? Accept? Hanju entered the dream again and saw Niwa. The dream was the mountain range of Buzhou Divine Mountain. The scenery was magnificent. Niwa asked, Hanju, what's your relationship with the Tao ancestor? Indeed, it was another suspicion. Hanju said, it's fine. Why do you ask? Niwa shook her head. No, you killed the right person. It's just that your strength surprised us. Who are you trying to fool? I've already deduced your conspiracy. Hanju frowned. Isn't it good that I'm powerful? I can protect the heavenly Tao. That's right, but why do you have the Buzhou Divine Mountain? Back then, the Buzhou Divine Mountain was broken by the ancestral Magus, and the remaining mountain was taken away by the Tao ancestor, Niwa asked with deep meaning. The Tao ancestor is still alive? Hanju paused and exclaimed again. He had already used his strongest acting skills. Niwa frowned slightly. I see. I will discuss this with other mighty figures. If the Tao ancestor looks for you in the future, remember to tell me. The Tao ancestor is not simple. He is not as good as the rumors say. With that, Niwa hurriedly canceled the dream. Hanju opened his eyes. I hope the Tao ancestor can scare off these guys. Hanju thought to himself. The Tao ancestor was indeed still alive. A long time ago, he had even developed a favorable impression of him. Although the favorability was very low, he could confirm his existence. The reason why the Tao ancestor was called the Tao ancestor was that he was the ancestor of the great Tao. After Pangu killed the 3,000 chaotic fiend celestials, the Tao ancestor was the first to attain the Tao and was also the first to preach the Tao. All the cultivators in the future could be considered his disciples. Pangu was the first mighty figure to split the world apart. The Tao ancestor was the first mighty figure to preach the Tao. All of them had immeasurable supreme merit. Just as Hanju was thinking, Han Tuo slowly woke up. Seeing him, he hurriedly got up. Hanju didn't use the sun and moon yin-yang protection because the battle had ended. However, his body was still covered by the freedom divine light, and Han Tuo couldn't see his true appearance. Who are you? Han Tuo asked warily. He recalled the person he saw before he fainted. He saw his father. Was that an illusion? Hanju said, Who do you think I am? Han Tuo was moved. This voice. Hanju used the voice he had in the past. It didn't have any sage aura. Father, how is that possible? Tuo immediately knelt on the ground with a surprised and shocked expression. Hanju didn't restrain the light on his body and stared at him calmly. After a long while, Tuo finally calmed down. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Are you a sage?" "Then you." Tuo subconsciously wanted to ask Hanju why he didn't save his mother, or rather, Tuo's own wife. However, just as he was about to speak, Tuo suddenly thought of the Han family. Hanyu had also questioned him like this back then. He recalled his state of mind at that time. The anger in his heart seemed to have been extinguished by a basin of cold water. He became dejected. Why not save her? Because the difference in cultivation and status was too great. They pursued different things. Tuo had given birth to a son only to train. He had never treated his mortal wife and children as family from the beginning. He only wanted to live a mortal dream. In the end, he felt pity and taught his children cultivation techniques. This led to the birth of the Han family and the end of the clan. Was this why Hanju gave birth to him back then? Thinking of this, Tuo was confused. He suddenly felt that everything had lost its meaning. He didn't dare to blame Hanju because he was the same. However, he couldn't accept this situation. What was he pursuing? If his existence was valuable, wouldn't the Han family also have its own value? Looking up at Hanju, Tuo thought of Hanyu and panicked. All his words turned into a pool of stagnant water. Hanju slowly said, "It seems that you've thought it through." Tuo clenched his fists in his sleeves and gritted his teeth. The surprise of being saved and reuniting after a long time was already occupied by his anger towards himself. "Actually, your mother is still here. I can revive her at any time," Hanju suddenly said. Tuo suddenly looked up, pleasantly surprised. "As for your wife, that's your own business." Hanju's next words made his mood sink again. Tuo suddenly felt ashamed. He understood. He didn't really rely on opportunities to survive until today. Why was the King of Hell willing to help him? Why didn't the sect master of the GS school kill him? Why did so many mighty figures treat him as if they were old friends? It was all because of Hanju's relationships. Hanju could still save the wife he had in the mortal world, but he, Tuo, had long forgotten about her. At this moment, Tuo didn't dare to ask for anything anymore, and he even didn't know what to say. Gratitude? Blame? Such things were meaningless. Hanju said, "I originally wanted to wait until you became a pseudo-sage before recognizing you. However, the Dark Sage King captured you." Tuo lowered his head and gritted his teeth. "Sorry." He wished that there was a hole in the ground for him to hide in. At this moment, he suddenly felt a hand land on his head. He subconsciously looked up and discovered that Hanju had already retracted his divine light. He touched his head and looked at him. Although Hanju was expressionless, his actions made Tuo's suppressed emotions erupt instantly. His eyes instantly turned red. "Father!" Tuo wanted to call him father again, but he felt that he had no right. "Don't think too much. What you have to think about now is how to proceed from now on," Hanju said calmly. Tuo took a deep breath and adjusted his state of mind. He asked, "What do you think?" He was no longer a child. It was impossible for him to pounce into Hanju's arms and act spoiled. The feeling of flesh and blood couldn't stop the embarrassment of reuniting after a long time. "Choose for yourself." Hanju's words came back, making Tuo have to think. He knew that his choice this time would decide his future cultivation path. Since Hanju saved him, he could definitely choose to cultivate under his father's protection. However, for some reason, he suddenly thought of Hanyu. Back then, he had wanted to protect him, but Hanyu had rejected him. Hanyu had even said that he wanted to surpass him. At that time, he had only felt that it was funny. Hantuo laughed at himself. Hanju and him, he and Hanyu, looked after each other from generation to generation. Their relationship was like a mirror. Wait. Could it be that Hanju saved Hanyu? He had heard from the king of hell that a mighty figure had saved the Han family. His father did this because he wanted to use Hanyu to educate and warn him? He looked up with a firm gaze and said, I want to walk my own path. Let me go. I will create a world that belongs to me. When I attain the Tao, I will repay you for birthing and nurturing me, as well as the opportunities won. God. No need. As your son, if I want to be respected, I have to prove myself. Fine. Hanju didn't say anything else. He raised his hand and pointed at Hantuo's forehead. Boom! Hantuo felt his mind explode, and his consciousness fell into a daze. Hanju introduced the great Tao of extreme origin into his mind and preached the Tao to him. The current him had already fused with the great Tao of extreme origin. There was no need to speak anymore, because he was the great Tao of extreme origin. Perhaps Hantuo's bloodline potential did not match his, but it was definitely stronger than all the living beings in the heavenly Tao. A strong light burst out from Hantuo's body. It was dazzling. That's another chaotic fiend celestial? Morongchi muttered curiously. He didn't go to watch to avoid disturbing Hanju. He finally understood why Hanju liked to cultivate so much. 10 years passed in a flash. Hantuo slowly woke up. He opened his eyes, and the first thing he saw was Hanju, who was emitting divine light. He was still so high and mighty. Hantuo clearly felt that everything had changed. The world in his eyes became clearer. The flowing and invisible Khanate Chi flowed in front of him like rivers. This feeling. Excited, Hantuo hurriedly kowtowed to Hanju. Thank you, father, Hantuo said in a low voice, his voice trembling. He could feel his potential transforming. With a breath, he could absorb Khanate Chi and increase his cultivation. Too terrifying. Was this the great Tao of a sage? Hanju didn't even open his eyes as he said, try your best to stay in the immortal world in the future. Don't go out. There are many existences stronger than me outside the immortal world watching. You have inherited my bloodline and will be targeted by many mighty figures. Hantuo nodded. He seemed to have thought of something and asked, where's Tion? He's my sworn brother. You. As a sage, Hanju definitely knew the people around him. I didn't save him. Why? He's the son of the heavenly Tao. To be precise, he's a pawn created by the heavenly Tao spirit. The heavenly Tao spirit is the intelligence born by the heavenly Tao. If the heavenly Tao has a spirit, it will definitely be a calamity. You understand this logic, so it's impossible for me to save Tion. If he grows up, he will only harm the immortal world. You should have already sensed his bloodlust, Hanju said indifferently. Hantuo was stunned. I see. No wonder I couldn't catch up to him no matter what. Hantuo smiled bitterly, but his eyes were still very firm. He has his backing. You don't have to worry. Cultivate here for now. You're not allowed to leave, Hanju said. Although Hantuo's potential was freed, he was not strong enough. Hantuo asked, when can I leave? When you reach the Zenith Heaven realm. Zenith Heaven. Hantuo raised his eyebrows. With his current potential, it was not difficult for him to reach the Zenith Heaven realm. At this moment, Hanju suddenly disappeared. Hantuo was stunned. He stood up and wanted to walk out of the Taoist temple to take a look, but he still stopped. No! I can't let him down. Han Tuo sat down again and started cultivating. On the other side, Hanju returned to the 100-peak Immortal River. He looked up and saw that the sages had already returned and were gathered in the Universal Hall. After thinking for a moment, he jumped out of the immortal world and appeared at the Universal Hall outside the 33rd heaven. Sensing his aura, the door to the Universal Hall opened. Hanju walked into the hall and came in front of the sages. Fellow Taoist Han, you've finally appeared. We thought you hadn't returned. Damn it, we were attacked on the way back. Fellow Taoist Fuxishan is gone. Who is behind the Dark Sage King? I'm not sure. I keep feeling that the Heavenly Tao's danger isn't over. Hearing the sage's words, Hanju glanced at them. Other than Fuxishan, the other sages were all injured. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's expression was very ugly. Hanju asked, "Are your injuries very serious?" Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, "A powerful force suppressed our Tao hearts. It will take us a long time to recover." For a time, the hall fell silent. Hanju asked, "Have you contacted your seniors in the deity realm of the ruins of End?" "What did they say?" "They want us to focus on managing the Heavenly Tao. Don't think too much about it." The south extreme Heavenly Venerate side. Hanju observed their expressions and couldn't see through their thoughts. "I want to know if they know that the Dark Sage King was instructed by the deity realm of the ruins of End?" Hanju asked silently in his mind. 4 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. No! Hanju mourned. So these people were also pawns and were kept in the dark. It was normal. They were Heavenly Tao sages. If something happened to the Heavenly Tao, they would all be buried with it. In that case, I can use them. Hanju thought silently. No matter what, they were on the same side in the matter of the Heavenly Tao. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, "We can't control the matter of Fuxishan. We should think of a way to increase the Heavenly Tao's providence. The stronger the Heavenly Tao is, the safer we will be." The sages nodded and dispersed. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du sent a voice transmission to stop Hanju from leaving. After the other sages left, the door to the Universal Hall closed. "Something's wrong. We have to hurry up and obtain the Earth Immortal World and nurture it into the Heavenly Tao," Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said in a low voice. Hanju asked, "You're a freedom sage with deep experience. Why did you descend as a Heavenly Tao sage?" Heavenly Venerate Xian Du sighed. "The great Tao immeasurable calamity is about to arrive. I'm worried about the Heavenly Tao and the human race." "Were you not arranged to be here?" "Of course. Otherwise, how can I let go of the grudge of you killing Li Muyi?" Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said snappily. The emotions he suddenly displayed pulled his relationship with Hanju closer. Hanju's impression of Heavenly Venerate Xian Du changed. Not all cultivators only worked hard for the strongest. They had other ambitions. The two of them began to discuss how to develop the reincarnation space. The greatest resistance to the reincarnation space's development now was the chaotic fiend celestial and the infinite space hidden in the Earth Immortal World. Behind the infinite space was a sage. He had severed 3 corpses to attain the Tao. He was stronger than a Heavenly Tao sage, but he was inferior to a sage who had used his own strength to attain the Tao. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du was once a freedom sage. Hanju was also a freedom sage now, so they didn't have to worry about the infinite space. They had to eliminate the chaotic fiend celestial first. After returning to the 100-peak Immortal River, Hanju sat on the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus. He discussed with Heavenly Venerate Xian-Du for 2 hours and finally decided to wait for the reincarnation space to develop for a period of time before forcing the chaotic fiend celestial to appear. Hanju didn't deduce where the chaotic fiend celestial was. Unlike Heavenly Venerate Xian-Du, he was only interested in this matter and didn't have to do anything. Therefore, he was not as anxious as the other party. The matter of killing the Dark Sage King attracted the hatred of 26 mighty figures. For the next period of time, he had to keep a low profile. He decided to keep a low profile for thousands of years before cursing these guys. Hanju opened the emails and looked at the changes in his circle of friends recently. Your good friend Evil Heavenly Emperor has inherited the inheritance of your enemy, the Dark Sage King. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Choshilai was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Fuxishan was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure and died. Your good friend Fuxishan was resurrected by your enemy, Nuwa. He became a freedom sage. Ko! Your disciple Yang Tiandong was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure and was severely injured. Your grand disciple Fang Liang has been enlightened by your good friend, the Tao Ancestor. His cultivation has increased greatly. Evil Heavenly Emperor. Seeing his situation, Hanju sighed silently. The Evil Heavenly Emperor had a path to take. Little did he know that the backing of the Dark Sage King was the backing of the Heavenly Tao Sages. After so many twists and turns, the Evil Heavenly Emperor was still a pawn and couldn't break through the cages of those mighty figures. Looking down, Hanju saw what happened to Fuxishan and had a bad feeling. With Fuxishan dead, a more overbearing sage would definitely descend next. Just like the previous Heavenly Venerate Wufa, there would be internal strife among the sages again. When the next Heavenly Tao calamity arrived, the sages would fight among themselves, and it would be very difficult for them to unite. Hanju had already deduced the plans of the mighty figures in the deity realm of the ruins of End, but he couldn't say it. His only advantage was that those mighty figures didn't know that he already knew the truth. Hanju wanted to use this to break them up. It was impossible for these mighty figures to be absolutely united. After reading the emails, Hanju continued cultivating. He was waiting for the opportunity to curse. It had been a long time since he had lasted cursed. He missed it. It was time for the Dark Forbidden Lord to appear again. Netherworld, by the Yellow Spring. Young Tiandong was meditating when Empress Hutu appeared above the Yellow Spring. Sensing her aura, young Tiandong hurriedly opened his eyes and bowed. Young Tiandong frowned. Empress, my cultivation level is very weak. I'm afraid it's difficult for me to protect the Netherworld. Don't worry. I will let the 18 kings of hell return. They are all Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals. This is also the greatest power that the Netherworld has accumulated. 18 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals. Young Tiandong's eyelids twitched. So powerful? He heaved a sigh of relief, but he was also a little worried. The return of the 18 ancient kings would definitely affect his status. Would he be killed? Empress Huta continued, I will leave the immortal world for a period of time next. Discuss everything with the great king of hell. He has a wide network and can deal with all situations. Understood. Empress Huta vanished, and young Tiandong stood up to leave. On the way back, young Tiandong was worried. He felt that something big was about to happen. On the other side, in the past tens of thousands of years, the most famous mighty figure in the immortal world was Great Loose Heaven. He held the top position in the Heavenly Tao Providence board and controlled the first mortal world. The Loose Heaven sect he created was spread throughout the immortal world and its power increased day by day. Vastly Daogong's development was not good, but the Holy Mother sect supported by the Hidden sect developed very smoothly. They recruited countless female disciples. In addition, Huang Xuantian often took care of them. The alliance of the two schools was extremely helpful to each other. After tens of thousands of years, all the living beings in the world had already forgotten about the hidden sect, but their power on the surface was already very terrifying. On this day, after entering the mountain, he rushed to the top. When he was halfway up the mountain, a bolt of lightning suddenly descended, almost killing him. Go back. Li Daogong's voice sounded extremely indifferent. His eyes were determined without any fear. Then go to the 13th heaven. Don't disturb Buzhou's peace. Li Daogong's voice sounded again with a hint of impatience. I hope that Senior can allow it. Otherwise, I can only die under you. I have nothing to worry about in this life. Boom! A bolt of lightning struck, instantly charring Meng Xiao black and causing him to roll down the hill. However, he quickly stabilized himself and stood up trembling. He continued to climb up. Blood began to seep out of his charred body. Meng Xiao looked like a ghost, but his eyes were still bright and determined. Senior, please allow. As Meng Xiao ascended the mountain, he spoke with a trembling voice. His voice was weak and not as loud as the wind. The Buzhou Divine Mountain fell into silence. Tacitly agreeing, Li Daogong no longer stopped him. Several months later, the severely injured Meng Xiao finally arrived at the top of the Buzhou Divine Mountain with much difficulty. The top of the mountain pierced through the sea of clouds. Meng Xiao knelt at the top of the mountain and gasped for breath. The sunlight shone on him, and his injuries had already recovered. He used a spell to clean his body and changed into a clean robe, but he was in a bad state. His face was pale and his body swayed. Meng Xiao looked up and slowly raised his right hand. He had never felt the heavens being so close to him. He gritted his teeth and raised his head to shout, I, Meng Xiao of the human race, denounce the heavenly god general of the heavenly race. He slaughtered the men and humiliated the women of my race. The immortal gods are unfair. Heavenly ancestor, please uphold justice for us.